Let's talk about a headline that has been all over the media since September 2008. What this headline says is words to the effect, "Bank bailout will soak taxpayers." I think it's important to understand that as obviously true as these headlines appear to be, they are in fact dangerously misleading. Let me suggest to you that the real source of monies for the bailout will not be the taxes we pay, but the value of your savings, the value of your checking account, the value of your IRA or KEO, the value of your other investments. The ultimate source for the monies for the bailout will not be coming from taxes, but from the value of all our savings. And unfortunately, I'm afraid that the heaviest burden is likely to fall on retirees and retirement investment portfolios. My name is Dan Amerman. I'm a chartered financial analyst, a finance MBA, and a former investment banker. And about 20 years ago, I grew disenchanted with what investment banks were doing and began to seek out some different paths. Since then, I've written 7 books on finance and economics in which I've expressed my vigorous disagreement with what passes for the conventional financial wisdom. Because I became convinced a long time ago that going down that path, like we've all been doing with conventional financial planning, was more likely to lead to financial disaster than the financial security that has been promised. What I would like to talk with you about today is why this very reasonable sounding idea that the bailout will be paid for with taxes is, in my opinion, a lie. A great big whopper of a lie. Now, there are things you can do. There are actions you can take to defend the value of what you have, as we'll talk about later. But in order to understand solutions, first we have to understand what the problem really is. Because it's only when we fully grasp what the real problem is that we can come up with effective solutions to defend what we have. Let's start by placing things in perspective. This financial crisis has not been happening in isolation. The United States government was already in an impossible financial situation before this crisis ever hit. Looking at Social Security and Medicare, when we take a long-term perspective, the projected excess of expenditures over taxes is at least $59 trillion, according to a fairly well-known and accepted study that appeared in USA Today. Now, there are approximately 111 million households in the United States. So if we take the total shortfall and we divide it by the number of households, we come up with a shortfall of over $500,000 per household, and that number is reasonably well accepted these days. Okay, you've probably seen that number before or something like it. Now let's very quickly do a few things you probably haven't seen before. This is a short video, so I need to move fast, but I've got a lot of supporting detail available for free at my website. So fasten your seatbelt and here we go. Our first step is to take the 11 million households that are below the poverty line and subtract them out. They're not going to be able to pay. Divide 59 trillion by 100 million households and our shares of the shortfall just jumped to $590,000 per household. Wow. I don't know about you, but that was just about the quickest $60,000 I ever spent. Step 2 is, do we expect retiree households to pay for their own retirement? We've got quite a few retiree households already, and that number is going to be growing fast as an average of 4 million baby boomers retire each year. Adjusting out retirees leaves us with 79 million households. Divide 59 trillion by 79 million, and we all have to come up with $747,000 per household. Each of us are now up $217,000 compared to the USA Today number. Whew. That was a quick way to spend $217,000 of your money, but we're not done yet. Step 3 is there's more to baby boomer retirement than just Social Security and Medicare. Pensions and retirement accounts need to be cashed out, and when we add in that cost, we come up with a total figure per able-to-pay non-retired household, including Social Security, Medicare, pensions, and cashing out retirement investments of $1,060,000 per household. Now, you might think that our having just spent over $500,000 of your money in 30 seconds would cover it, but we're not done yet. We've still got a bailout and stimulus package to pay for. And how much is that going to cost? And maybe a good place to start are the official actions of the United States government. According to the New York Times, the total cost of the bailout, including commitments for spending, loans, and guarantees, is $12.2 trillion, mostly in the form of Federal Reserve commitments. Now, we need to add in the cost of the stimulus package of approximately $0.8 trillion, and we get a total for official commitments at this time of approximately $13 trillion. Take the 13 trillion and divide it by 79 million households, and we come up with a total of about $165,000 per non-retired, able-to-pay household. That is a fantastic sum of money. When we add this to the trouble we were already in, we come up with a sum of $1,225,000 per non-retired, able-to-pay household. Now here's my question for you. And this is an important question, because the answer could change your standard of living for decades. At what point did you stop believing that you and your family could pay your share? Was it this final $165,000? Was that the straw that finally broke the camel's back? Or was it the $60,000, the $217,000? Or was it that first $500,000, the very well accepted $500,000 that passed your personal ability to pay? Your answer is vital, because once we accept that the average household can't pay, doesn't even have a remote chance of doing so, then we accept that taxes won't be paying for the bailout. And newspaper headlines that say taxpayers will pay for the bailout are an insult to your intelligence. So, does this mean that the United States is bankrupt? No. Short answer. Nations that can borrow in terms of their own currency don't go bankrupt. Not when the Federal Reserve can create trillions of dollars out of thin air, shazam, just like the Federal Reserve has been doing ever since this crisis hit. So taxes can't possibly pay for the bailout. But the United States is not going bankrupt. Just how do we cover the gap? Again, very short version. Pay in full, but make the dollar worth 5 cents. Drops the per household cost for everything from $1.2 million down to about $60,000. Painful, but manageable over 20 to 30 years. The problem is, this solution also drops your savings to a value of 5 cents on the dollar, meaning that $100,000 in savings you have just became effectively worth $5,000 to cover your entire retirement. I've spent many years developing unique, practical solutions to help individuals deal with the crisis that I believe was coming in retirement investments. And let me give you the executive summary version of those solutions. This is something I passionately believe in. If you seek a different economic and financial fate than 78 million boomers rapidly approaching retirement age, then the only way to avoid that fate is to fundamentally get out of step with the boomer generation. You can't do the same things. You can't follow the same strategies that everyone else is following without sharing their fate. So that then raises the question, how do you precisely get out of step with the boomer generation? Well, I wrote a book on that titled The Turning Inflation into Wealth mini course. The ebook version of this book is free, and it is packed with real-world solutions available nowhere else for how an individual can protect what they have against the shredding of the value of retirement portfolios all around them. If you are interested in learning more about this unique resource that has already benefited many people around the world, then I would encourage you to visit my website, danielamerman.com, and learn how you can sign up for a detailed, free second opinion on how to protect what you have over the next year and the next 20 years.